All right, that's the breaking news, folks. Cam Rogers with you alongside Tom Downey. You're watching NFL Daily. Be sure to hit us up. Let us know what you think about this national anthem debate. We will continue on here with the program and get to the top players who could be traded. And Tom, we're going to start things off with a player who was apparently close to being traded, or there were some inquiries about him?
There were definitely some discussions here, and this is Nick Foles here of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, there was the report from Mike Silver that the Browns almost had a trade done with the Eagles. Now, there were reports that the Eagles were not going to take anything less than a first and a fourth-round pick. The offer was Nick Foles for number 35 overall, which was a high second-round pick, and it didn't go through, by the way, because the Eagles asked Nick Foles, hey, do you want to go to Cleveland? And he said, nah.
Did he actually?
I don't want to go to Cleveland. Which makes it sound to me like that this deal was going to be accepted, or not that the Eagles were actually hoping for a first and a fourth, like that they're going to take a little bit less in the end, which I think makes some sense there. But as of right now, no trade for Nick Foles and the Eagles. I think that makes sense. Some insurance just in case Carson Wentz isn't ready to go. Maybe you have another Sam Bradford type deal. A big quarterback gets hurt. Hopefully it's not this, but maybe it's someone like Russell Wilson, where the depth is non-existent behind their current quarterback, and they make a deal out, and Nick Foles gets traded for a first-round pick, and the Eagles win again.
Well, I don't know, Tom, because I feel like Doug Peterson wants that security behind Carson Wentz coming off that ACL injury. We don't know if he's even going to be in the preseason and getting any sort of reps there. So his first real football could be in week 1 of the regular season. So maybe the Eagles want to keep Nick Foles just for that security's sake. What is a Nick Foles trade worth? Let us know in comments on Facebook Live.
I still think a high second-round pick is the way to go.
Yep. Okay. Let's continue on here with the names that we're going through who could perhaps be traded. We're going to talk about Ameer Abdullah, running back for the Detroit Lions, and Detroit getting Kerryon Johnson. They got LeGarrette Blount, so Ameer Abdullah, goodbye.
I still think it could happen. I mentioned this a very, very long time ago that, Ameer Abdullah could be traded if the Lions add a running back early. They did. They added Kerryon Johnson, and they added LeGarrette Blount. So with the Lions, you got 4 guys that I think you really end up liking. You have Ameer Abdullah, you have Blount, you have Theoretical, I'm a big fan of as well, and now you have Kerryon Johnson. Are you going to carry all 4 guys and cut someone like a Zach Zenner or Dwayne Washington? Or do you say, you know what? Let's cut Abdullah, let's trade Abdullah, get something back, and move forward with Johnson and potentially Riddick as well as your third down back. Now, Abdullah, I think, can still be a good third down back. He's very cheap, so they're not going to just give him away. But I do think it's a potential trade that they should discuss there.
You take a look at the RB depth chart here for the Lions. You got Theo Riddick. There's Ameer Abdullah. Dwayne Washington's not a bad player either. Look, if you got Blount, Johnson, and Theo Riddick, 1, 2, 3, I think Ameer Abdullah is pretty expendable. At least that's my opinion there for the Detroit Lions. All right, so there's the look at Ameer Abdullah. Let's continue along here. Stay at the running back position. We're going to talk about Fat Rob Kelley, and it's a sad situation because he's a fan favorite of the Redskins, but I could see this trade happening, Tom. You look at the depth chart for Washington.
Doesn't make sense.
It's a lot of running backs there.
There are too many guys there, and Darius Geis is clearly going to be the long-term guy, at least if everything goes according to plan, which I do think is going to be what ends up happening. And at that point, you have Samaje Perine, who I guess they like a little bit more than Rob Kelley based on how they were kind of used as the season went along a little bit more. So I think at that point, you're looking, either you cut Rob Kelley or maybe you try and trade him to a team that's looking for kind of a first and second down back that can help out on the ground game early and often.
He's just capable running back, not a great passing back, though, more of an early down guy. And we'll see if the Redskins don't want to cut him just yet, and maybe they want to fish for some trades out there. All right, let's go to the wide receiver position now. And Corey Coleman of the Cleveland Browns. He's a good player, Tom.
The Browns have already, or at least the report is that the Browns would trade him at the right price. Now, I don't know what the right price is here, but if you're a team that needs a receiver, the Browns have some pretty good players already there. Jarvis Landry, Josh Gordon, Corey Coleman, because of injuries, has been a bit of a bust in Cleveland, where he's never been able to stay healthy. When he's been on the field, he hasn't been all that great. The injuries are, of course, a big factor in that whole deal, so it's been a bit of a rough go for Corey Coleman. The talent's still there. The question is, hey, is he ever going to become the guy that we think he can be?
And that is the big question, and I don't think he's had a fair shake because of the injuries, but I do think he is a very solid wide receiver when he is healthy, when he is on the football field, getting the right amount of reps there. So Corey Coleman perhaps could be traded at some point from the Cleveland Browns to somewhere else. All right, let's stick with the wide receiver position here, and we will go to Seth Roberts of the Oakland Raiders. Tom, the logic here, you look at the depth chart, Martavis Bryant's there, Jordy Nelson, and Amari Cooper.
The Raiders, have been trying to trade Seth Roberts. They don't want him on the roster at $4.45 million, and they can't really cut him because they would only save $225,000. Or $200,000, excuse me, that didn't make any sense what I just said. So the Raiders want to trade him really badly. The issue is who's going to want Seth Roberts? That's kind of the issue there. And you look at all the moves they've made this offseason. They bring in Jordy Nelson. They bring in Martavis Bryant and Ryan Switzer, who I think is more of the Seth Roberts replacement. Nelson plays some slot as well. They cut Crabtree. They trade away Cordarrelle Patterson. As of right now, Seth Roberts, I think, is the number 5 wide receiver.
He's the odd man out.
Are you going to pay almost $4.5 million for your number 5 guy? Absolutely not. You're not going to pay for your number 4 guy either. That's the issue with Seth Roberts. They would rather pay cheap money for a Dwayne Harris, a Johnny Holton, a Marcel Aitman, or even a Griff Whalen, Keon Hatcher type guy. They don't want to pay that amount of money. So yes, they do want to trade him, but the cap hit involved is going to be an issue. And if you're Roberts, why would you redo your deal? Your salary and base salary, or your guaranteed money, are almost guaranteed here right now.
All right, so keep an eye on Seth Roberts. Maybe finally, Tom, he will be traded from the Bay Area and go somewhere else across the National Football League. So that's the deal there with Seth Roberts. We're going through some players who could be traded. Maybe Maxx Williams. And Tom, like, the Baltimore Ravens had the weirdest draft ever, getting Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst. They have failed multiple times with tight ends before, some because of injuries, some because of busts out there. Maybe Maxx Williams is the guy that gets traded away.
I am so surprised, Cam, maybe you can add more insight for me here, as to what happened with Maxx Williams. Like, I thought he was going to be really good. I know injuries were a factor there, but he never became the guy that I kind of thought he was going to end up being in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the pieces that the Ravens have brought in at the tight end position. Crockett Gilmore, right? And Dennis Pitta has dealt with his fair share of back injuries. He's not playing in the NFL anymore, it appears. Nick Boyle, more of a blocking tight end. He's on the depth chart right now for Baltimore. You got Hayden Hurst, you got Mark Andrews, you highly invested in these guys. They better pan out. So Maxx Williams makes a lot of sense there, who could be traded from the Baltimore Ravens, go somewhere else. Maybe the Ravens help out their linebacking core or something like that.
Look at the numbers there. I like Vince Mealy as a backup guy. I think that because you drafted Hurst and Andrews, Williams now becomes that 4th tight end. They're going to carry 4 tight ends? Probably not. If you're a team like the Chargers, do you have some interest in Maxx Williams? Because maybe. You hadn't planned, at least, on bringing back Antonio Gates. Your next best guy is Virgil Green, who's a blocking tight end.
Sure.
Maybe you do that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe Antonio Gates does go back to the Chargers, but stay tuned on that. We'll stick with the tight end theme here. Rob Gronkowski, we are talking about this because A, he's not at OTAs, B, he took the longest time in the world to announce that he's coming back, and C, Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, Tom, said this morning, and he's a good insider, that maybe the Chargers make a move and try to acquire Rob Gronkowski.
I will preface this by saying that I was wrong about Florio's McDaniels take, that he might go back to Patriots. I think that was going to happen. But does it actually make sense for the Chargers? Like, do you want to have 2 tight ends next year? Like, it's one thing to get a stopgap tight end for a season, but you're going to trade away a lot of assets to get Gronk for a year, and then have Hunter Henry coming back anyway. So I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense. So YouTube commenters, Facebook guys, yell at Cam.
Tee off on me.
On this one.
Come at me, YouTube commenters. I'm telling you, there is some very real friction within the Patriots franchise. I could go on for the next hour about that, but I will not. But let me say this. There is a sliver of chance, if Mike Florio says so, there's got to be some credence to it. We'll see what happens if Rob Gronkowski actually does get traded. But sliver, 1 Goodell head, maybe a half a Goodell head.
Yeah, I just don't really buy it in the end.
All right, so Rob Gronkowski's on our list. Let's go to Ereck Flowers. This one makes a lot of sense. He's been on the trade block for some time.
Well, it does and it doesn't, because the Giants and Flowers just aren't getting along right now.
No.
They openly shopped him during the NFL draft. Surprise, surprise, no one took him because he was a disaster at left tackle in the NFL so far. and he's got a $2.4 million cap hit. The other big concern with me for Flowers, and just as the Giants, is who are you going to play at right tackle then? Because, yeah, Flowers isn't great. Is Chad Wheeler and the Knicks better?
No.
Nick Gates can play some guard, too. So, I don't actually think it's in their best interest to trade him. I think you give him one more year to try and show that he can be a reliable NFL tackle, and then his contract's up, and then you say, okay, sorry, Eric, bye, Eric.
Right.
He's struggled in the NFL, had a bit of a mini holdout because he was upset that the Giants signed Nate Solder because, well, they needed tackle help, they did pay for Solder, but whatever. I think that if a team comes through with a good offer for Flowers, they'll trade him, but what team is going to make that offer? Then again, Cam Irving got traded, so anything is possible in the NFL.
You know, sometimes, Tom, it's just a change of scenery that is needed, and maybe Ereck Flowers will get that change of scenery. Right now, he's a tackle for the New York Giants, but coming up at some point, maybe he won't be, as you see the cap hit, $2.4 million for a new team. Cam Rogers with you alongside Tom Downey here on NFL Daily. We went through some of the players who we think could be traded, and we left things off with Ereck Flowers, tackle for the New York Giants. How about we stick with the tackle theme here and go to Cincinnati? Cedric Ogbuehi,
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Cedric Ogbuehi here, and what do you think?
It's tough. I think the bigger question mark for the Bengals is what's going to happen with Jake Fisher. Because Jake Fisher has had some heart issues. That's a concern for him, just long-term being able to play. If he's able to play, maybe you could see the Bengals try and trade Ogbuehi. Now, they brought in a new offensive line coach from the Cowboys. Maybe that'll help him out, but he very much falls into the Ereck Flowers category. He's just been a bust.
He's not good.
Now, you can cut him and save more money, but again, it's tough to find offensive linemen in the NFL. You don't find teams that go 4 or 5 deep at OT. Those teams typically just don't exist in the NFL. So if you're going to cut Ogbuehi, your other options are Jake Fisher, we know has some health issues, Bobby Hart, who was so bad the Giants cut him, and Kent Perkins.
Not good.
So it might be a case of you need to get something notable for him, because I don't think they'd end up cutting him outright. So highly touted kid coming out of Texas A&M, has not become the guy who was supposed to be. His biggest problem, he just gets pushed around too much. Like, there have been some others, maybe he moves inside the guard, but he's not strong enough to handle that role. So he's very much in a rough spot for his NFL career going forward. He really needs to thrive on the right side. The issue is he's been on the right side before, and it wasn't actually any better. He's played both sides for the Bengals. Neither have gone very well.
All right, so that's a look at Cedric Ogbuehi. Let's take a look at the defensive side of the ball. And Shane Ray, edge rusher there for the Denver Broncos. So you've got Von Miller, you've got Bradley Chubb in town, so the depth chart looks pretty good.
Depth chart's loaded at Denver.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the Broncos, you're looking at your edge rushers, you're like, oh, man, this is really good. Ooh, but we have Shane Ray. That's why I think he's actually of the guys we're going to discuss here, Cam, I think he might make the most sense here because you got Von Miller, you drafted Bradley Chubb, you got Shaq Barrett, who's been a better player than Shane Ray, and you spent a second-round pick on DeMarcus Walker. So if you can get a 5th or 6th-round pick for Shane Ray, wouldn't you trade him? Because he's not going to be with you beyond this year, I wouldn't imagine. You want to probably try and keep Shaquille Barrett. You want to see if you can get more out of DeMarcus Walker. So at that point, I think Shane Ray makes a lot of sense as a guy that could be traded. And yeah, he's number 4 or 5 right now for Denver at the outside backer spot. He could be 3 on other teams. And former first-round pick, the pedigree does matter in the NFL.
All right, so Shane Ray perhaps could be traded from the Denver Broncos. Let's take a look at Kevin Dodd, edge rusher for the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have a lot of playmakers coming around the edge. You got Derek Morgan and Brian Orakpo, and yeah, they got Harold Landry as well.
Kevin Dodd's done nothing in the NFL. Like, 1 career sack, and he was basically a first-round pick. He was number 33 overall. He has not become close to the guy the Titans were hoping they were going to get out of him. So you have Orakpo, you have Derek Morgan. Now you bring in Harold Landry. Dodd couldn't get really get on the field last year as an edge rusher. How is he going to do it this year with Landry now on the roster, who I think is a much better player here?
I like the Tennessee Titans front 7. And Kevin Dodd, you look at him on the depth chart, Tom, he's expendable. You can address other areas if you're the Tennessee Titans right now.
Even if you're just going to get a 5th-round pick,
sure,
take that, find some future depth, because I don't think he's going to make it a big impact this year. trade him while the 33rd overall pick still has some value in him, because right now he's been a bust and he has not turned out very well. Morgan and Rakpel aren't the greatest players either, but they've done better than Dodd has. So Dodd could be the odd man out here. Now, you'd like to have more pass rushers. You can never have too many, but if you're not even getting sacks, what's the point of playing?
All right, there's a look at Dodd there with the Tennessee Titans. Could be traded away. Let's take a look at the next name on our list. We've got Kikaha of the Saints, defensive end. What do you think?
They tried to trade him last year. Couldn't find a taker. This very much falls into the Kevin Dodd end, where a little bit more productive, but I feel like he's a little bit miscast as a 4-3 defensive. I think he'd be better in a 3-4 scheme. He could play some Sam linebacker this year for the Saints, but their top four for the Saints are very clear. Cam Jordan, Davenport and Okafor, and then Trey Hendrickson. You also got Al-Quaid Muhammad as well. They spent a mid-round pick on last year. Those are your top 5 guys. Are you going to carry 6 edge rushers?
Probably not.
Bringing in Davenport. Now, Kikaha can play some outside linebacker as well, but you got a lot of bodies out there as well. I think the Saints are going to try and trade him again. Now, it might be a last second, right before 53-man roster cuts, they trade him for a conditional 6th or 7th round pick. But I think his time might just be up in New Orleans. And they tried really hard to trade him last year. And sometimes when you get those reports of players or teams are listening to calls on a player, what that actually means is they leaked it so that other teams would have interest in him because, oh, well, if someone else wants him, maybe we can get him then. It's kind of the behind-the-scenes leak of, hey, we'll trade him. Please give us an offer, i.e. Bryce Petty and the Jets.
Right, exactly. All right, we'll see what happens on that end for the Saints. Let's take a look at the Green Bay Packers. Quentin Rollins, this makes a lot of sense to me. You go cornerback in the draft.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Now, I like Q. I've known Q for a few years from our time together at Miami of Ohio up in Oxford. And I just think the bodies don't make a lot of sense for Q. Now, he showed some real promise in his first year as a rookie, where he was almost playing as a dime and nickel linebacker because they were so decimated on the inside. But they put him back at corner, and in part because of injuries, it just hasn't quite worked out for Q thus far. It's been a big problem for him. A, staying healthy, and B, making plays, and that's unfortunate. But now you look at the Packers' depth chart at cornerback. Kevin King, Jair Alexander, Josh Jackson, Tremont Williams, and House. Those are your top 5 guys. Who are you going to cut? That leaves Q as your 6th, even Hawkins, Goodskin, and Pipkins as your other guys. If he sticks on the roster, though, Cam, maybe a position change is in order.
Sure.
Now, teams had interest in moving him to safety when he was first entering the NFL draft out of Miami after playing basketball. Played a corner for the Packers. Green Bay was going to move Demarius Randall to safety. Maybe they move Rollins over there instead and have him be a 3rd or 4th guy behind Jones, Clinton Dix, and Kentrell Bryce. That could be an option for him to stick on the roster, or team trades for him and puts him at safety. But there's some upside there with Q. Has never quite got it going after a promising year 1.
A lot of players back there in the secondary for the Green Bay Packers. We'll see what happens with Quentin Rollins there. All right, folks, you're watching NFL Daily, presented by Man Crates. These are great gifts that guys love. I'm talking about wooden crates that come with a crowbar. You pry them open, and you got gifts that are made just for dudes out there. Tom, customized barware. You can get your Dallas Cowboys glasses if you want.
I have them already.
There you go.
Testosterone in a box right there.
Absolutely. Many thanks to Man Crates for sponsoring the show here today. You see the red bar at the bottom of your screen, of course, as we go throughout this segment here. Reuben Foster and the charges have been dropped in regards to the domestic violence case. Still due in court on June 20th, might I add, due to that marijuana possession charge. So stay tuned.
Different state as well. That one's in Alabama.
Yes, in Alabama. All right, folks, let's continue on here with the potential players who could be traded. And I'm telling you, Earl Thomas, some serious steam at one point, maybe not so much anymore.
Well, once the draft ended, it kind of went down a little bit. Now, that hasn't stopped the reports of, oh, the Cowboys are interested in, Earl Thomas wants a new deal and he's not all that happy right now. And I've mentioned it many a time on the Cowboys report, Cam. I really don't think a deal's going to happen before the season. Now, if it happens, I could see something happening where the Seahawks are bad this year.
Yeah.
And they're like 1-5, and they're getting closer to the trade deadline, and they say, you know what? Just blow it up. Let's trade away Thomas, get more than a 3rd-round pick in exchange for a team like the Cowboys.
So no longer reset, just...
I mean, I don't really think it's a reset
total rebuild
anyway, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So we know the connection's there with the Cowboys and Earl Thomas, and I get it. Didn't help when you go up and tell your coach, hey, come get me. That's a big deal on that end. When you're telling an opposing team, come sign me. And of course, it's going to spark controversy and whatnot. So he has to be on here, but I don't think it's going to be all that likely in the end, at least in my eyes. Now, worth discussing, but I just don't think you're going to see a team trade for Earl Thomas because the Seahawks aren't just going to give him away right now.
Sure.
That's a big factor there.
All right, the Seahawks still think they can win, so they're going to keep Earl Thomas for now. Let's get to the final name here, Jimmie Ward, defensive back for the 49ers. This makes so much sense, Tom. You got the secondary for San Francisco that is in very fine shape, particularly at safety, where you would think Jimmie Ward would play, but Adrian Colbert and Jaquiski Tart are really fine players. Kelley Witherspoon, Richard Sherman, K'Wan Williams are there at corner. You got DJ Reed as well to help things out behind K'Wan. Where does Jimmie fit in all this? He's making way too much money, Tom.
Well, they picked up his option, so that's why he's all expensive.
Yes.
So that's also going to help prevent a trade, I think, from going down. Now, I like Tart. Colbert was pretty good. There's been some buzz about Moore playing at cornerback. I'll put him at safety for now. Don Jones also in the mix there. The reason why maybe you don't see a trade is maybe you put Jimmie Ward back at cornerback camp and you roll with Tart and Colbert at safety, especially if Richard Sherman isn't fully healthy. Because he's not healthy yet. And I like Sherman. He's been a good leader for the Niners right now. But I do think it's fair to wonder, is he going to be back as the same guy and healthy again?
Yep.
And frankly, I don't know if the depth is all that great behind San Francisco at cornerback if you don't put Moore or Ward back there, because I think you're just a little bit thin on that end. I mean, if you have Sherman and Witherspoon and Williams and DJ Reed, that's a good top four. But if one of those guys get hurt, I do think you're a little bit thin on that end. So that's just a concern. Maybe Ward goes back to corner after bouncing back and forth each year. Injuries killed him last year. That was a big reason there. I had high hopes for Ward. Niners wanted him to be their next their version of Earl Thomas. Didn't quite happen.
And you know what's interesting, Tom? A good concentration of Niner Empire now wants Jimmie Ward cut. So crazy how things drastically changed there. All right, so Jimmie Ward is there on our list. We can also summarize the top players who we think could be traded this season and
most
really
probably
off-season.
won't. Just take note of that, but these are the top guys to monitor.
Let's take a look at some of the names here. Nick Foles, quarterback of the Eagles, of course. Ameer, Abdullah, Rob Kelley. Corey Coleman, Seth Roberts there of the Raiders. Maxx Williams, Rob Gronkowski.
That's Cam. Don't
That's
yell
all
at me, guys.
Come
That's
at me,
Cam.
commenters. Ereck Flowers, Cedric Ogbuehi, Shane Ray. Then you got Dodd and Kikala and Quentin Rollins and Earl Thomas. You got Jimmie Ward as well on the list.
I don't think Thomas will be traded, but how can you have this segment and not mention him, given all the trade rumors around him the past couple months?
Absolutely.